Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Matt back with another video. Today I'm doing a video on this thing right here, the Shimbol Memory 5.5-inch 4K camera monitor. I've been using it for all of my professional and personal use lately. I'll go over all the different contexts I've been using it. I think I have some pictures of some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, I've been using it anytime I need a camera monitor, which is every time I do a talking head video like this, I definitely need a monitor. I film on an X-T3, so I don't have a flip screen, so this is what I have to use. I know this is a little distracting, having it right here in the foreground like this, so just to show you, there is a little bit of latency in 4K, but now that I've shown you that, I just want to get this off of the middle of the frame because it's pretty distracting to have a version of me going slightly slower. So like I said, I've been using the monitor for all of my professional and personal use. I've been making a 20-minute short film for my final in college, and I'm actually very excited to share with you guys. I was using it for that, and it was a super useful asset on set because obviously I'm the director of photography. Only I can really be behind the camera and looking at the camera screen, but being able to send the video footage through an HDMI feed to the camera monitor so that the director and the set designer and other members of the team can see the footage and make notes on, you know, maybe if we need to change something in the background or make a note on the composition of the shot. Like, this is useful in a professional context, and it has all of the different professional features that you really need in a monitor. It has different histograms and scopes. It has peaking, zebras, all that different stuff. I'll get into the menu system later. But in my own personal things, out of monitors that I've bought with my own money, I've spent maybe $200 on, this is by far the best build quality and the most features, and it's the only touchscreen monitor I've ever had. So that's enough of me rambling on now. Let's get into the actual features that the monitor has and how they'll be useful to you as a video creator.
Just a quick few things I forgot to mention about the physical aspects of the monitor. It runs on Sony NP batteries. It has a simple 4-button layout with 1 power button and 3 function buttons. It has an HDMI in and HDMI out and an option for DC power in case you don't want to run on an NP battery. It also has an SD card slot and comes with a 32GB SD card. It has its own headphone port for monitoring, but I actually did notice when you don't use the headphone port, it doesn't seem to play audio through its own speakers, so the headphone port is necessary if you want to see the video on the monitor during playback. And it also has the ability to mount the monitor on its side if you wanted to record vertical videos for TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, stuff like that. And finally, on the bottom, it has a USB-C plug, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't take power from there. It's only for data transfer, but I tend to use the SD card for that. Anyway, let's check out the menus.
So now we're on to the different menus and features of the monitor. I have it on top of another X-T3 and I'm recording the monitor with a second camera. So you can just take a look at your image, or you can tap into the menu by just a simple tap of the screen, and I'll show you some of these different menus, just a quick overview. This is the scope menu, so you can get waveforms here. You can see how our exposure is looking. I'm protecting the highlights because it's a very shiny surface, so you can see a lot of the different things. There's see the highlights there are all peaking up there, but there's a lot of low, so in post I know I'd have to bring that up. Here's like a histogram. I can see I'm a lot at the lower end of the spectrum there, except for when the highlights come around there, you saw it peaked for a second. And the vector scope for just general colors, but you can choose to have, you know, 3 of these at a time, or you can have these 3. But anyway, here you can change the opacity of how that is showing up, so it's like not taking up that block of your footage. This is the marker menu, so like if you're shooting an anamorphic lens, you can de-squeeze the anamorphic lens in the monitor. If you want to set a safe area, if you know you're planning on cropping in or you're going to stabilize your footage, you can set a safe area so you can frame accordingly. And you can change the color of the safe area, from red to green to blue to gray. You can change how thick it is, how big it is. You can do all sorts of stuff that I probably wouldn't even mess with. Here's like it says grip, but I think it means grid. This is the one typo in the menu. So if you want, you know, your rule of thirds lines or anything like that. What else is there? Markers for, I guess you're going to shoot at a different aspect ratio, so you're framing accordingly. You can change, oh yeah, these are different aspects, 16:9, 15:9, 13:9, 4:3. So if you know you're going to be shooting in a different aspect ratio, you can like say, set this in 4:3, and it will gray out or black out the outside area so you can just frame how you mean to frame or how you want it to look in post. Center marker, pretty self-explanatory. You can change the color. matte. I don't know what this does, if I'm being honest. So that is that menu. Then we have our peaking menu. So you can do focus peaking in your camera, or you can do it in the monitor. You can do different colors depending on what you're filming. Then we have zebra patterns. So you can see this is like at risk of overexposure, where you see the zebras. You can change the, like when they show up at which amount of overexposure. So I usually have mine at 90. I don't know why it was just a 70. So there's zebras. I know that that's fine if that's a little bit overexposed there, so I'm okay with that. Here's if you want to have a LUT. This is a very cool part of the thing, so you can click on the LUT. I don't need a LUT because I'm not shooting a log right now. So it has some LUTs loaded onto it, some standard ones from different companies. Or my favorite part, it looks terrible right now, is the user LUTs. So I have my own X-T3 F-Log LUTs on here. So I can shoot an F-Log in camera, but get a sense of what the footage might look like by applying the LUT in the monitor, so I can expose perfectly and know that the image isn't gonna be over or underexposed, because sometimes it's hard to accurately expose log without that visual reference. These are different gamma curves, HDR. I don't shoot in HDR, so I don't use that, but it's cool that it has that ability. And then color temperature, I don't know why you would change this in the monitor and not in the camera. I guess if you wanted to shoot the camera at a regular color temperature and then see what it's going to look like after some creative color grading, I guess that would be the use for that. And the coolest part is that this monitor comes with a 32GB SD card. It has an SD card slot in the side, and I can film with the monitor and do redundant footage. So if, in case you're filming a wedding or something, you can film in 4K on your camera. Unfortunately, the monitor doesn't have the ability like an Atomos Ninja V to film in a super high resolution. It's capped off at 1080p at 3 different quality levels, but they all are acceptably good. And you know, this is a last case redundancy scenario, so if your SD card fails, you have redundant footage on the SD card and recording from your monitor, so you're covered and you're not worried about that. So that's a very useful thing to have, and for $250, I was seriously considering buying an Atomos Ninja V, which is $500 or $600, but this totally does the trick, because that's really all I wanted out of a monitor, was that safety barrier, and that's very cool that this has it. I did adjust these slightly. They are all at 50%, I think, by default, except for maybe the sharpness. This is just how the monitor displays the actual image. All I did is adjust these so it looked like the back of my camera. And yeah, so those are different things. These are just, you know, things to do with the actual monitor, like the language and the different things. So there's function buttons on top. It's like function 1, I have set for peaking. You see that peaking automatically goes on and off. Function 2, I have set for histogram. Function 3, I have set for applying the X-T3 LUT, or the F-Log LUT. So these are just 3 quick things that I know I'm gonna want out of the monitor, so you can quickly apply your 3 most common settings to function buttons that are on the top, and that's a super useful feature as well. The one weird thing about this monitor, which is not gonna happen because I have really good battery, is that whenever, even though everything else is in English and the menu's in English, everything's really good English as well, except for the one where it says grip right here. Besides that, everything is in English, but whenever the battery starts shutting down, the message that pops up is in Chinese, which is very funny. The way I found that out is our audio guy on our film speaks Chinese. English is his second language. When the audio message popped up, I asked him if he was able to read it, and he said, yeah, that was the battery message dying. That was just a funny thing I noticed, was that that message is in Chinese, but everything else in the menu is in English, but no big deal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you got some useful information out of this video. It really is the best monitor I've ever used. Again, I haven't used $1,000 plus monitors, but it's by far the best bang for buck monitor I've ever laid my hands on personally, even considering the school equipment that I have. I attend Penn State as a film major. I'm about to graduate. I mentioned my final film at the beginning of the video. And even the monitors they have, they don't even support 4K footage, let alone have touchscreen. Like, their monitors are pretty professional, I would consider. Like, that's the equipment they're setting as the standard for the students to use. And this is better than those monitors, though maybe the screen's a little bit smaller. I wish it was a little bit of a bigger screen if I had to pick one thing to complain about, but overall, very, very nice. Leave a like, leave a comment down below. I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.